October 11th would have been the 100th anniversary of Åsmund S. Lærdal, your father and the founder of our company. How would you best describe your father?
To me, he was most of all a caring father, but I think people who knew him well would describe him as unassuming, creative, entrepreneurial, and firmly believing in his goals. I believe he had a rare ability to make people feel they were part of an important mission. And I think that came through both in his relationship with co-workers and external contacts. He established very important contacts with many key experts in the field and also user organizations, and I think we're still harvesting on that.
What were some of the challenges your father faced in the beginning years?
Well, of course, he started his company just weeks before the Second World War came to Norway, so it was an extraordinary situation. He believed in his goal. He set his mind on something, and he had a lot of tenacity and values, so in the end he was winning through.
Some might find the transition from children's book publishing to toys to becoming one of the founding fathers of resuscitation an unlikely journey. How did that come about?
Well, in the first decades, his mind was set on creating children's toy, and with that as a starting point, I think the transition from books to toys in wood and later in plastics was much more natural for him than it would be for others.
The Norwegian Children's Museum has opened a new exhibition showcasing Lærdal's early success as a children's publisher and toy manufacturer.
And I guess my favorite was this fire engine. As most boys, I wanted to be a fireman when I was young. Later on, the cars were made in smaller, about 10 centimeter long miniature models. And we made over 100 million of them. And then the display here, you can have them drive out of the garage, and you'll see they drive around the globe. So we made about 15 million cars in the top years, and they were exported to over 100 countries. And one of them, a Mercedes 190 sports car, has been reproduced, so the kids can actually sit next to the driver and enjoy it's a little too small for me.
Lærdal's world-renowned plastic dolls and cars became iconic childhood classics in Norway and beyond.
The main eye-catcher getting into this room is this 3-meter tall Anna doll, which has been produced using, amongst others, 65,000 meters of copper thread to reproduce the hair.
Over the course of 2 decades, Lærdal's mission went from spreading children's joy to helping save lives, changing the course of the company.
He got really committed to this opportunity of creating a life-size doll that could help train the public to be lifesavers, and so we just did that. And the rest, I think, is a history we all share.
Can you tell me about this room we're sitting in? It's very unique and not typical for Stavanger, Norway.
Yeah, it's a room of inspiration, and he created this coming back from Japan in the early 70s when he got very excited about Japanese gardens. And actually he picked most of the stones here himself, including the one that resembles the heart. And he had this idea of having circulation over that heart, coming down in a kind of green room into the lungs, represented by the small sort of water and the fish here.
Peter Safar, the American doctor who collaborated very closely with your father, wrote about him. Without Lærdal, CPR would have never been implemented as rapidly and as broadly as it is today, and would never have reached the lay public. Do you agree?
Well, it's very flattering that the father of CPR, as Peter Saufer is referred to often, would make such a statement. But I think it also speaks about my father's ability to really create very important relationships and shared missions. Yes, I think that was a genuine statement, and to the extent it's true, it's talking a lot about our brand.
How would you describe your father's greatest legacy?
I think it's his greatest legacy is about the values he represented, the brand he built, and of course most of all about the lives he helped to save.
Many years ago, you were quoted in the newspaper as saying you inherited great possibilities. That was a refreshing spin on inheriting responsibilities. How has your father's legacy influenced your life and your work?
In many ways, of course, I ended up with an unexpected responsibility at a very young age, and it goes without saying that has dominated my life in many ways, but I also feel a great privilege in being an owner of a company and a leader of a committed team that share a very meaningful mission and a purpose.
From the beginning, Lærdal has been a company motivated not primarily by profit, but by meaningful work. Had your father been alive today, what do you think he would have thought about the company today?
Well, I've been thinking about that sometimes, and in many ways I think he would be scared about how complex the company has become, and he was not a man working through committees and documents and systems, procedures. He was much more entrepreneurial and direct in his approach, but at the same time I think he would be proud about the legacy, and I think somehow he would be maybe smiling down at us, I don't know.